Hello, my name is Michael, and welcome to Midnight Point Consulting. This is my next sharing on biography work in the light of anthroposophy and evolutionary astrology. Today we'll be looking at the 7-year phases of the human life. If we look at the human being in relation to the other kingdoms of nature here on earth, from a spiritual and soul point of view, we can more deeply understand the significance of these 7-year phases in our lives. I will paint this picture with broad strokes and give just a brief overview. Any questions about the appearance of life-threatening diseases and crippling accidents are other karmic results and destiny streams that would take us in a different direction and not for this particular video. In later videos, I'll go more deeply into the spiritual psychology of a few of the phases. The human being shares and incorporates all that lives in the mineral, plant, and animal kingdoms, and yet we have another unique aspect of consciousness. We have a physical body, as do the members of the other kingdoms. But what we share with the minerals is just that, the mineral content of our bodies. Once the body is cremated after death, only a few handfuls of mineral content is left, right? This is really all that is truly physical of our bodily existence. The plant also has a physical bodily aspect, but it has the added reality of being alive. It grows, synthesizes, metamorphoses. It propagates its own kind, and its life force responds positively or negatively to light and dark, heat and cold, water and dryness, and to the presence or lack of elements of the mineral realm and to other life forces. And we'll call this the life body, the body of formative forces, also known as the etheric body. The animal shares characteristics of the mineral and plant. It has a body, it grows and reproduces, yet it has the ability to will its mobility, in that it can experience itself and members of the other kingdoms of nature in an instinctual and emotional way. Animals have shared behaviorisms that are typical of its own species and family. Some animals can also connect certain experiences, and their will instinctually moves towards those things to their advantage. We'll call this the emotional body or the astral body. We human beings share the characteristics of the other 3 kingdoms of nature: physicality, life, ability to procreate, instinctual behavior, will, and emotions. Yet we are able to consciously manipulate and change the other members of our being by directing the will by thought. This element of individual self-aware consciousness, which is capable of intentionality, is noted as the I, or ego consciousness. As you know, there are a lot of negative perceptions and ideas about the nature of ego. We are not to banish it, suppress it, or overcome it. There's a big difference between being self-centered, even narcissistic, compared to what is healthy self-definition, healthy self-expression, and consciously directing our thinking, feeling, and willing. The former is really self-identification with and anchored, which is anchored by the justifications and defenses of our likes and dislikes. The latter is about determining what our actions, feelings, and thoughts are to be in a given situation, according to our individual conscience, intuition, and deliberation. When our thinking, feeling, and actions are free from being determined by something outside of us, and free from any motivation within that's not rooted in truth, beauty, and goodness, then we have a glimpse of what is purely I activity. Unlike the animals, we can have control over our instincts, and we can determine to change our feelings if they do not serve us. To the degree we consciously exercise equanimity in our feeling life, keeping an open mind, seeing the positive, and having reverence and devotion, this is the degree that we transform our feelings, our astral body, into what spiritual science calls spirit self, or in Sanskrit, manas. When we develop new life-giving habits in our thinking, feeling, and willing, and let go of those that do not serve us, we transform our etheric bodies, and we build up our spirit life, or buddhi. As we consciously direct our will impulses from their unconscious source into wakeful decisions, activity, and love, we build up the seed for the transformation of the physical forces into spirit man, or Atman. That will be when the presence of the higher I will manifest in the harmony of the higher soul expressions, manas, buddhi, and Atman. For human evolution, it is our evolutionary intention for us to fully spiritualize every aspect of our being. Through spiritual science, Rudolf Steiner brought out the role of the ego in the evolution of all of humanity and of each individual. When we look at the human life in 7-year phases, we can observe the manifestations and activities of the human I gradually coming into incarnation. In the first 7 years, starting from the physical birth, there is the incredible activity of the etheric body, as shown by the building up and growth of the foundational physical organism. The etheric or formative force body of the mother provides a template, as it were, for the child's etheric body to model itself after, to model its own body. The bodily changes during the first 7 years are manifestations of the formative forces of the moon, working from without and what are internalized within the human being in the etheric body. By roughly the 7th year, the physical body has taken on different proportions. The first dentition happens. The child gradually begins to look more like an individual. The activities of the etheric body is now freed up enough, it's freed up from organic development and is now born to be available for the systematic learning and thinking. It's also freed from the mother's etheric body. Thus the parents can now be a little bit more rested, hopefully. The next 7-year phase is all about the activities of Mercury in the discovery and learning about the world and the development of abilities and friendships. At around age 14, the astral body is born. The astral body is that which carries the karma of the individual, who begins to be aware of and responsible for it. This is experienced through the feeling life. And this 7-year period is imbued with the intentions and activity of Venus. Relationships of all sorts become a focus. The Venusian dual aspects of self-worth and the worth of others are of extreme importance during this time. The direction which one takes towards establishing values can vacillate between ideals and sensuality. The questions, who am I? What is important to me? Who is important to me and why? Why am I important to someone else? Am I important in any way? These last 3 periods are that build the necessary foundation for the birth of the individual I, which is focused upon establishing itself and finding one's purpose or living one's purpose during this sun period, which lasts for the next 3 7-year periods until age 42. The first 7-year period of this epoch is a time of deep feeling, sensuality, and romance. This is a time for travel and adventure of some sort. In the fifth 7-year period, life plans, career steps, confidence in one's abilities, and the functionality of relationships come to the forefront. The balance between family and work is an issue for many. The 6-7-year period raises the awareness of one's limitations of mind and current abilities, and whether one can break through to a new level of awareness. This is a time for many to recognize the need to master themselves. By the end of this period, of this phase, confrontations from without and intense self-questionings arise. Self-questioning that questions everything that we have built up in our life, even our identities. This is a time of the famous midlife crisis. New paradigms and imaginations of how life can be now come into view. What is authentic for myself? In what ways have I not developed since I was 28? During the 7th 7-year phase, we ask ourselves, who am I? Once again, but with a more honest drive to get to the nitty-gritty of our soul life. We're more capable of accepting our imperfections and begin to lose the fear of what others think of us. We develop a new sense of maturity and start to feel what is the source of our power, or seriously wonder what it is. Mars is what leads us to want to put all that we have developed out into the world to make our mark, even from the proverbial director's chair. In our 50s, we develop a calm self-assurance. Some start worrying about getting old, while others focus on how their lives are becoming increasingly richer. Expansiveness leads to a sense of mastery. Aging and menopause can bring on a new self-awareness. What will I become? What is my next step? Am I flexible or fixed in my attitudes and expectations? Do I feel resignation towards life? All the gifts and positive attributes that have given us meaning in this life and from previous lives all expand inwardly, feeling and urging us to generously share with the rest of the world. It is a time to set new goals. The 9th 7-year phase gives us the opportunity to consider how we are to spend our time meaningfully without the responsibilities of raising a family for many. Do we focus on the bitterness, regrets, and frustrations from the past? Or do we start to glow with the newfound joy and enthusiasm for life? By 70, most people have reached the end of their careers or working life. A feeling of freedom awakens in the Uranian sense that we can go beyond conventions and obligations, even politeness. Many let loose of guilt they have carried for decades and will dare to do what they denied themselves all their lives. In our early 70s, we can truly begin to bless others as the fruit of our experiences, and to the degree that we felt Neptunian reverence and compassion in our own lives. Others, as a karmic result, will experience the Neptunian loss of memory, even identity. It is possible in our 12th 7-year phase, all that is inessential dies away in a Plutonian fire. All that we have transformed and spiritualized in ourselves becomes like a bright lamp of love, hope, and charity for everyone that we encounter. Otherwise, we can increasingly experience being trapped, overwhelmed, even lost because of the breaking down of our bodily state. This has been a very brief view of the human life. If you'd like me to elaborate with more detail on a particular phase, please comment. I will choose the 2 most desired phases before moving on to a different topic. If you have any questions or comments, please let me know. If you want your questions to be more private, you may message me. Thank you for listening, sharing this time with me, and blessings on your day.